and I'm not going to speak for long because I think everyone's probably a bit sick of the sound of my voice. And it's also my real pleasure to follow Kirsty, who has done so much to advance politicians' understandings of the issues to do with the European Union in the last few years. I want to start by thanking European Movement in Scotland for organising this, and also thanking all the other speakers. All the politicians who've come today. I'm really delighted to be joined by my SNP colleague Ben McPherson, the Minister for Europe in the Scottish Parliament, and by my MEP colleague Christian Allard, who of course, as well as being a Scotsman, is also a Frenchman. But most of all, I want to thank all of you for turning out on this beautiful day when you could have been sitting in the garden with a glass of wine, but instead you've come and chosen to show your support for the idea that Scotland should remain in the European Union. It's not surprising that so many people should show up in Edinburgh, though, because of course Edinburgh voted by 75% to remain in the European Union. And Scotland as a whole voted by 62%. And I'm very proud that Scotland, and I'm not just talking about the SNP or the Scottish Government, I'm talking about Scottish politicians from many parties apart from perhaps one. I'm very proud that Scotland has been at the forefront of the fight against Brexit. And if you think back to the shock of the few days after the Leave vote across the UK in 2016, you will remember that it was a bit of a vacuum at the top of British politics, and that one woman stepped into that vacuum, and it was Scotland's First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon. When she went to Brussels and she saw Jean-Claude Juncker, he said to her that Scotland has earned the right to be heard in Europe. And I can tell you that as a member of the Brexit Select Committee travelling across the European Union over the last 3 years, I am aware of an immense sympathy for Scotland, but an awareness of the fact that Scottish politicians and the Scottish Government have been at the forefront of the fight against this madness, and also at the forefront of the fight to stand up for our fellow EU citizens who live in Scotland and the UK. Scotland's national motto in Latin is Nemo me impuni lacessit, which means "Bod or meddle with me." But William McIlvanney famously once said that Scotland's national motto really was, "Wait a minute, that's not fair." And I think, well, that's no fair, he doesn't say. And I think that really is true. It's not fair that Scotland voted to remain and faces being taken out of the European Union against her will. And it's not fair that Northern Ireland voted to remain and faces being taken out of the European Union against her will. But it's also not fair that the people of England and Wales, albeit that they voted to leave, did so against the background of a fraudulent campaign where lies were told. One of the really awful things about that campaign was not just the fraud and the lies that were told, but the failure of those who led the campaign, the failure of the previous British Prime Minister David Cameron to speak the truth about the European Union, the incredible peace that it's brought us, and the opportunities it offers us for working together. And of course, one of the great things about the European Union is that it's a rules-based union, which is governed by democracy and the rule of law. And I'm very grateful for all the nice things that have been said about the case that I've brought to the Supreme Court, but it's not just my case. It wouldn't be happening at all if it wasn't for the English QC, Joe Mon, and his legal project. And also, it wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for the members of the public who have crowdfunded the litigation, and I'm sure that includes many of you here today. And also, it wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for the other members of Parliament from the SNP, but also from other parties, and also the peers who have joined in the action. So although I'm very proud to be the first petitioner, there's an awful lot of other people in the mix, and that also includes our fantastic legal team. I'm really proud that we won that case in the inner house of the Court of Session. And I think it's very much part of the Scottish constitutional tradition that the monarch and the government are not above the law. And as one of the Scottish judges said, it's not for the judiciary to politically scrutinise the government. That's the job of Parliament. But when the government suspends Parliament to prevent it from doing that job, then the judiciary can step in to restore democracy. And I have to tell you that I am cautiously optimistic that the United Kingdom Supreme Court will, early next week, issue a judgment following in the footsteps of our Scottish judges. And I'll tell you why I'm cautiously optimistic. It's not just because I sat through the case and I watched the way in which the arguments proceed, and it's not just because I think the arguments on my side of the case are correct. It's also because if they don't do so, they will have said that it is acceptable under the British Constitution for a Prime Minister of a minority government to suspend Parliament in order that he can get his way. And I don't think, much as I'm a Scot Nat, I don't think that's what the British Constitution should say. So, I can say this because I'm not in Parliament now. Boris Johnson is a liar. Lord Kerr explained why that is the case far more eloquently than I could ever have done. But he's not just a liar, he's behaving not like the Prime Minister of a democracy, but like the dictator in a dictatorship. But the law in Scotland has already caught up with him, and I believe that the law across the UK will catch up with him next week. I think it's very fitting that it should be the rule of law, a rules-based system that restores democracy in the United Kingdom, because that's what the European Union is all about: democracy and the rule of law, and working together. So I'm very optimistic at the moment. I think the fight for Europe is one that can be won, and that one we in Scotland will win. Thank you.